I never imagined the day I'd meet my father would feel like the end of the world. Emily's voice trembled heavy with a mixture of betrayal, confusion, and a fragile hope she barely understood herself. For years, she had lived in shadows, ignored by the man who should have protected her, surviving cold nights and endless hunger. Now, standing in a mansion that felt more like a gilded cage than a home, she faced a truth more shattering than any hardship before. Her heart pounded with raw emotions, anger, fear, and a desperate yearning to belong, while her mind raced with questions no child should have to ask. Could forgiveness truly heal such deep wounds? Could a family broken by secrets and lies ever find peace? Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you, an unexpected twist that challenges everything Emily thought she knew about love, loyalty, and what it really means to be family. The rain came down relentlessly over the slick streets of Chicago, turning sidewalks into shimmering rivers and washing away any remnants of hope that lingered on the faces of the city's forgotten. Under the faded awning of Sunrise Bakery, a small girl huddled, her thin frame shivering against the cold drizzle. Emily's soaked dress hung loosely on her frail body, patches of threadbare fabric revealing the harshness of a life spent mostly outdoors. Her shoes, 2 sizes too big and tied together with a fraying knot, were scuffed and cracked. Her small hand extended cautiously towards passers-by, lips trembling as she whispered a plea she had been taught to soften by her mother. "Please, sir, could you buy me some bread time?" And again she repeated the desperate request, the words sinking into the background noise of the busy city, drowned out by the indifferent rush of heels on pavement and the glowing screens of distracted smartphones. Emily had learned early that the world preferred to look away. For 3 long years, she and her mother, Sarah, had lived on the streets, swallowed by the shadows cast by towering skyscrapers and gilded mansions. It hadn't always been this way. Until she was 7, Emily had a home, a school, meals on the table, a life like any other child's. But when Sarah lost her job at the textile factory and fell gravely ill without insurance, everything crumbled. Eviction notices piled up, bills went unpaid, and eventually the family found shelter in Hope Haven, a temporary refuge for those with nowhere else to go. On this gray afternoon, the cold seeped into Emily's bones as much as the fear in her heart. She counted the few coins in her pocket, barely enough for a small loaf of bread, nothing for the medicine her mother desperately needed. Just as she was about to give up and retreat to the shelter, a sleek black Mercedes slid to a stop at the curb. The window rolled down slowly, revealing a man whose presence seemed to command the very air around him. Michael Harrington, a sharply dressed man in his early 50s, with salt and pepper hair perfectly slicked back, surveyed the scene before him with an intensity that was more curiosity than sympathy. "What are you doing out here alone in this weather, kid?" His voice was calm but carried an edge of authority that made Emily hesitate. She remembered her mother's warnings about strangers, especially those in fancy cars. Yet desperation pushed her to speak the truth. "I'm asking for money to buy medicine for my mom. She's very sick at Hope Haven Shelter." Michael's eyes narrowed. Scanning the small paper, she clutched a scribbled note from a nurse detailing an antibiotic and cough medicine. For a moment, he seemed to weigh the truth behind her words. There was something in Emily's eyes, a mixture of fierce determination and raw vulnerability, that struck a chord deep within him. "I'm Michael," he said, extending a hand. "Why don't you get in the car? I'll take you to get what your mom needs then, to the shelter." Emily's heart pounded. The instinct to run warred with the flicker of hope. Michael noticed her hesitation and quickly pressed his phone, calling an assistant. "Lucille, meet me at Sunrise Bakery. There's a girl here who needs our help." Minutes later, Lucille appeared, an empathetic young woman clad in a tailored suit, holding an umbrella over Emily's head. The presence of another adult reassured Emily just enough to climb into the warmth of the Mercedes. Inside, the plush leather seats and soft hum of the car contrasted sharply with the cold streets she had just left behind. Lucille handed her a bottle of water, and Emily drank greedily, realizing how parched she was. At the pharmacy, Michael didn't just buy the prescribed medicine. He filled the cart with vitamins, nutritional supplements, hygiene products, and even fresh fruit and milk. When Emily's stomach growled loudly, Lucille smiled gently and asked when she last had a real meal. Emily shrugged. "Yesterday. We had soup at the shelter, but Mom couldn't eat much." As Emily ate a fresh roll with cheese, Michael watched her in the rearview mirror, an unreadable expression flickering across his face. Part sorrow, part something closer to regret. The shelter was a bleak building with peeling paint and a heavy smell of disinfectant. People huddled in corners, faces worn and eyes weary. Emily led Michael and Lucille through the halls to a small room where Sarah lay. The woman looked decades older than her 32 years, sweat glistening on her pale skin, each breath a laborious struggle. "Mom," Emily whispered, clutching her mother's hand. Sarah's eyes fluttered open briefly, focusing on her daughter and the strangers, before coughing violently. Michael knelt beside the bed, his brow furrowing with concern. "We need to get her proper hospital care now," he said firmly. Sarah's faint nod was all the permission he needed. During the ambulance ride, Emily stayed close, whispering words of comfort. Sarah, more lucid thanks to the oxygen, asked quietly about Michael. Emily told her how he found them in the rain, and a shadow crossed Sarah's face. "Michael? You know him?" she asked. Emily wasn't sure. He said he might. The question hung in the cold air between them as the ambulance sped toward St. Grace Medical Center, a pristine hospital far from the hardship they'd known. At the hospital, Emily was overwhelmed by the sterile white halls and the constant beep of machines. Doctors and nurses moved swiftly, giving her mother the attention she desperately needed. Dr. Ramirez, a kindly pulmonologist, explained Sarah's condition as severe lung infection, likely tuberculosis, complicated by malnutrition. The prognosis was serious but treatable, if only they had the resources. Michael promised Emily, "We'll take care of her. No one will turn their back now." Later, he invited Emily to stay at his home. The idea of leaving her mother alone terrified her, but Sarah insisted. "You'll be safe there," she said weakly. "I want you to rest to have something better." Michael introduced Emily to his daughter Olivia, who was older and initially wary. The grand mansion was a world away from the streets Emily had known, with soft beds, warm baths, and clothes that fit. But beneath the luxury lurked shadows, whispers of family secrets, tension in polished smiles, and the question burning quietly in Emily's heart. Why did Michael help them? What did he really want? As the night fell over Chicago, Emily lay in the warmth of a bed she never dreamed she'd have, clutching a small medallion. Michael had given her a symbol of something new, something fragile yet full of promise. We'll pause here for now. What do you think Michael's real motivation is for helping Emily and her mother? Is he driven by guilt, redemption, or something deeper? Please share your thoughts in the comments, and if you're moved by this story, don't forget to like and heart the video. Your support means everything. As dawn broke over Chicago, Emily's world had already shifted in ways she struggled to comprehend. The cold uncertainty of the streets gave way to the polished halls of Michael Harrington's mansion, a gilded cage where comfort clashed with unease. The warmth of the soft linens and the gentle care from Helen the housekeeper were unfamiliar luxuries that tugged at her heart with equal parts relief and suspicion. Sarah's slow recovery in the hospital gave Emily a fragile hope. Yet it was the reality of Michael's home that forced her to confront the complexity of her new life. The grand doors opened to Victoria Harrington, Michael's wife, a woman of impeccable poise, yet eyes sharp enough to slice through facades. Her cool gaze landed on Emily with an unspoken challenge, her polite smile barely masking the storm beneath. Olivia, Michael, and Victoria's 16-year-old daughter lingered nearby, her presence a living reminder of the family Emily was about to disrupt. The moment Emily's existence was revealed to Olivia, the air thickened with tension. Olivia's disbelief quickly hardened into resentment. How could her father have a secret child? How could this girl from the streets claim any part of their carefully constructed world? Emily felt the weight of their stares, the unspoken accusation that she was an intruder. Yet beneath her apprehension lay a fierce resolve, a stubborn spark ignited by years of fighting to survive. This was no longer just about her and her mother. It was a battle for recognition, for belonging. Michael tried to bridge the widening gulf. "Emily, your family," he said quietly, trying to sound both firm and gentle. "And I want to do right by you." But Victoria's voice cut through the room like ice. "Right by her? What about our family, Michael? What about Olivia? This upends everything." The argument that followed was a delicate dance of veiled threats and raw emotions. Victoria feared losing her status, the carefully cultivated image of a perfect life. Olivia, torn between loyalty to her mother and an inexplicable curiosity about Emily, oscillated between cold rejection and tentative steps toward understanding. Meanwhile, Michael's own inner turmoil surfaced. The man who once chose corporate alliances over love now faced the consequences of those choices. His heart was torn between duty and guilt, ambition and redemption. He confessed in quiet moments away from prying eyes that he had been secretly supporting Sarah for years, quietly sending money to keep her and Emily afloat, never daring to interfere openly, trapped by fear of scandal and family expectations. Emily learned this through whispered conversations and stolen glances. The knowledge softened some of the anger she harbored, but deepened the ache of abandonment. Why had he waited so long? Why now, after years of silence? The most shattering moment came one evening when Michael and Victoria confronted each other in a storm of accusations. Michael declared that he would no longer hide the truth or deny Emily her place. Victoria's fury was palpable, the walls of their marriage cracking under the strain. He was forced to choose protect his empire or embrace the daughter he'd ignored for too long. Emily, caught in the middle, wrestled with her own storm of emotions. She was no longer a powerless child begging for scraps, but a young girl grappling with betrayal, love, and identity. Should she forgive Michael for his past mistakes? Could she accept Victoria's hostility while yearning for a sister's bond with Olivia? One night, standing alone in the sprawling garden under a sky heavy with stars, Emily wrestled with a decision that threatened to shatter or save her family. The choice between holding on to the pain of abandonment or risking everything to build a future with a father who had once turned away haunted her. In this crucible of emotion, Emily's strength shone. She reached out to Olivia, not with resentment, but with an open heart. Their tentative connection sparked moments of understanding and shared laughter, breaking down walls built by years of secrecy and suspicion. But the path to reconciliation was anything but smooth. Victoria's cold warnings lingered, Olivia's mixed feelings swirled, and Michael's determination was tested daily. Every smile between the sisters was shadowed by whispered doubts. Every kind word a fragile thread in a web of family tension. Through it all, Emily clung to one truth: love, no matter how complicated, was worth fighting for. Her journey was not just about acceptance, but about forgiveness of her father, her family, and ultimately herself. As part 2 closes, the stakes rise higher than ever. Will Emily's courage and compassion be enough to mend the broken ties? Can Michael overcome his fears and truly claim his role as a father? And how will Victoria and Olivia's hearts change in the face of undeniable truth? We'll pause here, dear viewers. What would you do if you were in Emily's shoes, torn between past pain and the hope of a new family? Share your thoughts below, and if this story moves you, please show your support by liking and hearting the video. Your voices keep this story alive. As the days turned into weeks, the Harrington household began to transform, not just in the tangible sense, but in ways far more profound. Emily was no longer the scared, uncertain girl who had stumbled into the mansion drenched and exhausted. She was growing, changing, becoming a part of something bigger, a family that had been fractured and torn, but was slowly piecing itself back together. Sarah's recovery at St. Grace Medical Center was steady, though not without its difficult moments. Each day brought new challenges: painful physical therapy sessions, medication side effects, and the emotional toll of years spent battling illness and poverty. But through it all, Sarah held on, not just for herself, but for Emily. The spark in her eyes grew stronger, fueled by the knowledge that her daughter was safe and beginning to heal from the wounds of their past. Michael was a constant presence, though his role was no longer just that of a distant benefactor. He attended every appointment, stayed up late, poring over schoolwork with Emily, and navigated the delicate balance of welcoming his daughter into his life while managing the complex dynamics of his existing family. Victoria, once cold and guarded, showed subtle signs of thawing. She still carried the scars of betrayal, but her demeanor softened when she saw the genuine bond forming between Emily and Olivia. The two girls, once strangers, were becoming sisters, not just in name, but in shared laughter, whispered secrets, and the occasional sisterly argument that Emily had never before experienced. But the path to healing was anything but smooth. The strain between Michael and Victoria was palpable. Their marriage, already strained by years of unmet expectations and unspoken grievances, now faced the pressure of a new, unexpected reality. Arguments became more frequent, voices raised in frustration and sorrow, and the house that once felt like a sanctuary echoed with tension. One evening, Emily sat quietly in the garden, her sketchbook open but untouched on her lap. The golden hues of sunset bathed the estate in warmth, but inside her chest a storm raged. She thought of her old life, the cold nights on the streets of Chicago, the hunger gnawing at her belly, the fear that never truly left her. And she thought of her new life, the grand rooms, the new clothes, the school that both terrified and thrilled her. Her thoughts were interrupted by footsteps. Olivia approached, a tentative smile on her lips. "Mind if I sit?" Olivia asked softly. Emily nodded, scooting over. For a while they sat in silence, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon. "I'm sorry," Olivia said finally, "for everything, for being so cold, for doubting you." Emily looked at her sister, surprised. "I don't blame you. I was scared too." They shared a small laugh, the ice between them beginning to melt. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, Victoria and Michael faced a crossroads. "This can't go on," Victoria said one night, her voice trembling with exhaustion and resolve. "We're not the same people anymore, Michael." Michael nodded, his eyes heavy with regret. "I know. I never wanted to hurt anyone, but I can't keep pretending. Not with Emily here, not with everything changing." They agreed on a separation, a decision born of honesty rather than bitterness. It was painful, but it was also freeing, a chance for each to find their own peace and for the family to heal in new ways. As the dust settled, Michael threw himself into being the father he had once feared to be. He worked tirelessly to ensure Emily had every opportunity, hiring tutors to catch her up, academically enrolling her in a prestigious school, and most importantly, being present. At school, Emily faced the daunting task of fitting in. The elite halls and manicured lawns were a far cry from the cramped shelters and crowded streets she'd known. Yet with Olivia's support and Michael's encouragement, she flourished. She discovered a passion for art, often retreating to the quiet of the art room, where she poured her emotions into her drawings. One afternoon, Emily received a gift from Michael, a delicate gold locket adorned with a shimmering emerald, the same deep green as her eyes. "My mother gave this to me," Michael explained. "She believed family is the greatest gift, no matter the hardships. Now it's yours." Holding the locket, Emily felt a connection to a past she barely knew, and a future she was ready to embrace. The day Emily officially took Michael's last name was filled with both joy and solemnity. The ceremony was small, intimate, a gathering of those who had witnessed her journey from hardship to hope. Victoria, despite their separation, attended and offered Emily a heartfelt welcome into the family. Yet challenges remained. Gossip and judgment from social circles cast shadows over their fragile peace. Olivia sometimes struggled with jealousy and confusion, while Emily grappled with feelings of inadequacy and fear of rejection. But through every trial, Emily's resilience shone. She learned that family wasn't defined by perfection, but by the willingness to forgive, to fight for each other, and to embrace change. On her first birthday, surrounded by friends and family, Emily closed her eyes and made a wish, not for riches or status, but for love to continue to grow, and for the wounds of the past to fully heal. Later, as the celebration wound down, she found herself standing beside Sarah and Michael beneath a sky full of stars. This is happiness," Sarah whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Emily smiled, the weight of years lifting from her young shoulders. "It's just the beginning." What part of Emily's journey resonated most with you? Have you ever experienced a moment where forgiveness opened the door to healing? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this story has moved, you show your support by commenting No. 3. If you feel it could be improved, comment number 1. And if you found it just okay, comment No. 2. We'd also love to know where you're watching from. Your voice matters to us. Don't forget to like, heart, and share this video with those who could use a story of hope and redemption. Thank you for joining Emily's journey.